Hello, and welcome back to MoJo JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the one and only Powerpuff Girls / JoJo's Bizarre Adventure recap and discussion podcast. I'm Raven.
And I'm Alison.
This week, we're going to be discussing the half-hour episode Criss Cross Crisis. But before we get into discussing the episode, just a reminder to leave us a comment or review, depending on what platform you're on. If you haven't already, it would really help to get the pod out there to more people, and it would be nice to get some feedback in addition to our potential listeners.
And you can also check us out on our other podcast, What We Pod in the Shadows, where we're discussing what we do in the shadows, which is a comedy about some vampires that live on Staten Island.
Yeah, if you want to hear us talk more about vampires who are certainly less evil than Dio, go ahead and check us out over there.
Okay, so let's jump into this episode. So this is season 3, episode 5. It was originally broadcast in the US September 8th, 2000. It's the morning in Townsville, and some sort of radio waves are emitting from the satellite dish and antenna tower on the Utonium house. The waves spread throughout the house. Professor desperately says, "What have I done?" And I think it shows it throughout, all of Townsville, too.
Yeah.
When Buttercup pops up, she is in the professor's body, overnight stubble and all. Professor is in Buttercup's body. Buttercup cries and screams when she realizes Blossom pops up in Miss Bellum's body. She also screams. And poor Bubbles is in the mayor's body.
Bubbles is oblivious to this until she goes to brush her teeth and sees the mayor's reflection as her own, then she passes out. The professor takes them down into the lab and explains that he made a machine which makes apples into oranges, but it didn't transform an apple into an orange. It made an apple with an orange's insides and vice versa. He wanted to harness theta waves from REM sleep to properly complete the conversion, but the power matrix overloaded, and then it made everyone switch bodies. They're also confused and want Professor to switch them back when the hotline rings. Buttercup can't pick up the phone with her new fingers, so they put the mayor and Miss Bellum on screen, and of course the mayor is in Bubbles' body and Miss Bellum is in Blossom's. And the mayor mostly just seems to be enjoying having hair again. He complains about having a run in his stocking, but Miss Bellum reveals that everyone in town has body swapped, and now there's a bank robbery and no one knows who's who anymore.
Professor, the mayor, and Miss Bellum will work on how to change everyone back, so they're going to try to fix the machine, while the girls investigate the robbery. They change out of their pajamas into their regular clothes. Professor Buttercup, hairy and stubbly in the green dress, Miss Bellum in Blossom's pink dress, and poor Bubbles, mayor, in the blue dress. Bubbles doesn't want to leave the house because she's bald with pigtails. Blossom combs some of the hair forward and they convince her she's not bald. At the bank, there are a variety of characters, including a horse, fireman, giraffe, astronaut, cowboy, baby, tortoro, and an old lady that suspiciously has hair like MoJo's. I'm not sure what he wears, if it's like a head wrap or a helmet on his head.
I'm not totally sure if it's set in canon what exactly it is. So I think of it as his helmet, but there's this one, they had Powerpuff Girls albums, and they refer to MoJo as a monkey in a turban in one of the songs. So
it might be some sort of rap.
Yeah.
The security guard is a baby. Lady barks like a dog, but the little old lady blames Fuzzy for the robbery.
When they get to Fuzzy's house and try to fight, Fuzzy is actually a fancy British dude. He just wants to drink his Earl Grey. They're then called to the jewelry store where the same little old lady says they were robbed by seasick-looking lads, and the girls go to fight the Gangrene Gang at the town dump. But when they get there, the Gangrene Gang are not themselves and are teen girls giggling about boys and reading magazines. One of the teens suggests they go look for the monkey they're always fighting, so they zoom off for MoJo's volcano lair, where MoJo offers them milk and cookies. They knock the milk, cookies, and MoJo on the ground, but MoJo is revealed to be the little old lady. And then we see MoJo in the old lady's body burst out of an antique store, gloating about stealing a vase.
So when they catch up with him, he mocks them for looking too old to be in kindergarten and does some kung fu on Professor Buttercup. Then they wail on the old lady, MoJo, and knock out her teeth. Old lady MoJo lets loose his hair and uses the chopstick knitting needles to tie them up together. Then they zap MoJo with their laser eyes. As he leaps towards them in anger, the professor has finally fixed the machine, but just needs the proper frequency, so he tries some random numbers, which turns them into a cobra, dog, and caterpillar, and MoJo into a sumo wrestler. They are no match for JoJo in those forms.
And then MoJo is about to land on them when Professor flips the switch again and MoJo becomes a fish and the girls become like this like sea captain or fisherman, a chef, and this like Inuit fisherman dude. They pummel him easily, but then we get this montage of the girls and MoJo changing bodies over and over as Professor flips the switch and the girls and MoJo fight. The professor almost flips the switch too many times, but finally lands on the correct frequency, and the girls beat up MoJo and send him to jail in their own bodies. At home, they're like, "That's that," until Bubbles says, "You said it, Professor," and the narrator's voice comes out. Bubbles, as the narrator, declares the day is saved.
At one point, there was a, like, Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory, and that was, I think, supposed to be Miss Bellum.
Yes, yeah.
And it was kind of funny that, like, Buttercup didn't know how to use Professor's body. I mean, it is kind of bigger, taller, and then there's separate fingers.
Yeah.
She didn't know how to...
Just, like, using it, like, as almost like a rectangle, like she would her regular hand, instead of like grabbing and like moving individual fingers.
Yeah, I think they need to take Professor's equipment away.
Yeah, I think they just need to like dismantle that thing.
I was like mad when he's like, "Well, I don't know what frequency to use." Well, what frequency did you put in there in the first place?
Yeah. He was so busy thinking about what he could do with science that he didn't consider the consequences.
Yeah, the changing apples into oranges was... I could see if it was like taking dirt and making it into gold or something, which I guess is probably like some sort of alchemy thing, but...
Yeah.
Might make more sense. Or like, I don't know. I mean, he did cure the one time, like, whatever the gangrene gang... Is that who I mean?
You mean the Amoeba Boys?
The Amoeba Boys. Whatever the Amoeba Boys made everyone sick with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess he's competent in some ways, but he needs, like, some peer review. Like, hey, this is questionable here. Or he's using too strong of a ray or something.
Yeah.
But it was fun to see them in each other's bodies and, like, wearing their clothes and stuff, and how they would have to kind of put up with not having hair or, you know, being tall or...
Yeah, I always love a good body swap episode. Those are always entertaining.
I'm not sure that they should have, like, the mayor is tiny, but that Miss Bellum and the professor should have been trying to wear their... dresses.
The mayor is probably about the same height as the girls, but I don't know how they managed to find versions of their dresses that like actually like covered their bodies, because like when Professor in the rainy day episode like pretended to be Bubbles, it's like it was like a crop top on him and it's just like his boxers and his socks were out.
Yeah. It seemed like the whole rest of the town, though, it was just random people that were swapped together, so it's a little convenient that it was just, like, kind of our main characters that swapped with the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah.
I did like all the, kind of the scenes with the old lady fighting them.
Yeah.
Her using her kung fu and stuff. It's pretty funny. And then all the switching, like when Professor was like pulling the lever over and over. I think at one point they were all like kind of monster, like almost like cutesy imaginary monster type.
Yeah.
Critters at one point. A lot of it was real fast. Like I said, one of them was like Dexter. And then I mentioned at the bank, the original swap had like Totoro.
Yeah.
In there. So there maybe have been more stuff happening.
Yeah, that's why it just went by really fast. The one frame, it had like some of the crew made cameos, specifically Craig McCracken, Paul Rudish, and Don Shank, whereas the professor, Miss Bellum, and the mayor at one point.
And then the part where MoJo was a fish. The one fisherman guy, he looked like the Gordon's fisherman guy. I think he had like the yellow hat on.
I guess I'm not familiar with that, but I did I think I clicked on it on the wiki, but I hadn't seen that fella until then. And what else did they send? There's I think there's at one point Popeye shows up.
I don't know if I saw Popeye.
Yeah, I didn't see Popeye either, but I saw it on the wiki. There's something else, but I think it was another reference, something that I'd not heard of, so I just didn't mention it.
Sometimes it's like when you see someone out of context and you're like, wait, I know that person, but then you can't.
Yeah.
Like you see your librarian person in the grocery store or something and you're like, wait, where do I know them from? I mean, obviously Popeye is pretty iconic, but
yeah,
there was just a lot happening. And when you're trying to look at all three characters or whatever, and then they switch it really fast and you're like, oh,
yeah,
what did I just see? Yeah, I'm thinking that other episode where they went to, was it Citiesville or what was that other town?
Yeah, Citiesville.
That, they, after the girls destroy that bridge, they sign a thing you're not allowed to use superpowers. I'm pretty sure if Professor had done this over there, he would have been not allowed to do any experiments.
If your last name is Utonium, you are specifically banned from doing a science here.
Yeah. Or probably they didn't really show, other than the places that were being robbed, the chaos, but the one lady, she had turned into a dog. I'm sure there were people who were driving and turned into a horse or whatever.
Yeah.
There were probably all kinds of wrecks and stuff going on.
Yeah, it might have been fun to explore some of those consequences a little.
Yeah. I did like the Gangrene boys, Gangrene gang, being all giggly teenage girls looking at magazines and stuff. That was cute.
Yeah, that was fun. So I think we're going to end our discussion here. Tune in next episode when we discuss the episodes Bubble Vision and Bot and Scold. Just make sure you watch those ahead of time so we don't spoil the whole thing for you. Of course, like I said earlier, it would be super cool if you could leave us reviews and of course, follow/subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. It would be super helpful to get us more views and, if you have a friend who is into Powerpuff Girls or JoJo or both, or you're trying to get them into one of those, this might be the podcast for them.
Smash all the buttons for us.
Yeah. So until next time, I'll be the roundabout. Goodbye.
Goodbye.